Welcome back to Grappling in Thought. And today I want to continue talking about tension, walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around, and really it's that tension, that aftermath. Maybe it's after something happened, or sometimes you just walk into it, but where that tension just is there. It might have been a discussion or an argument or a blow up, or you just walk into a room and you just feel it. And it's tight and heavy. That's what we're going to talk about today, and how to work through it without shrinking, without taking it on, without apologizing when it's not yours, and how to question, are you the only one feeling it? Because I'm finding that sometimes I'm the only one feeling the tension. So, first things first, notice it. If we can notice the feeling, notice the tension, notice it in the room, recognize it, feel it in your body, notice what's going on in your body, how you start to shrink, how you start to be careful, how you start tiptoeing, maybe start worrying about. You don't want to make it worse. You don't want to say anything. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to make them mad. And then recognize the situation. What's going on? Remember asking those questions of, did I do something? Were my intentions pure? Or did I say something maybe hurtful or that could have been interpreted as hurtful? And if so, take accountability for it. This isn't anything about not taking accountability where it's due. So if it's there, deal with it, work through it, say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done to handle that piece, apologize, keep your intentions pure. Another thing is expectations. Notice your expectations. Sometimes we get grand expectations, and if something doesn't get met, even just the tiniest, we feel tension. Or we get on a high horse. Our ego's a little inflated. And so when somebody doesn't match that, or if they're not living up to our expectation in that moment, we can feel tension because we get upset. So recognize just what's going on with the situation. And then if it's nothing, if it was nothing you did or said or anything, your intentions were pure, then we do the next thing, and that's making sure we're staying with ourselves through the tension because we feel it, it's there, we didn't do anything wrong, but yet here we are shrinking or blaming ourselves for it or thinking it's on us to ease the tension or take it away. And then we'll shrink, people please, try to make it right, even when it's not ours to make right. And so often, if we just shrink or tiptoe around and not say anything, that tension builds. Because what happens is, if we're quiet or we're tiptoeing around and we're being real careful, other people will feel that too. And if they're not feeling the same tension, if they're not in that same mindset and same space as you, they're going to question, oh, what's going on with them? They're quiet, oh, and then they might have the same thought, oh, what did I do wrong? And they start tiptoeing, you're tiptoeing, and it just escalates the whole tension. The tension gets bigger, you get quieter, they distance, you distance, and it becomes more than it probably ever started out as. So I'm going to talk mainly about the times when you didn't do anything wrong, but there's this tension. What do I do? And I'm going to talk about it because this is what I struggle with the most. So I'm really, really trying to work through this. And so I'm coming up with kind of 3-ish main paths or steps that I take when I get into this tension. After I've recognized it, I've noticed it, I feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel my mind starting to spiral. And I've come to the acknowledgement that the tension isn't on me. It's not mine to take on. What I'm finding works best is putting it out there. Either saying, I feel tension. Is there something you want to talk about? Do we need to discuss more of that conversation? Do you have anything more to say about it? Did I do something that bothered you? Do you have something to talk about? Do you want to talk about something? You can say anything, and it just puts it out there. It actually makes the other person or people aware of kind of the tension or if there is something going on. And usually it's a no, nothing, or no, I ain't tripping, everything's good, or hey, I don't really want to talk about it, or yes, I'm still bothered by this. And so then you have the conversation, and then sometimes it actually escalates again. So if it was a disagreement or a discussion that didn't really get resolved, or it was a disagreement that you guys just didn't come to an agreement, and that's okay. So if you ask again and they're like, well, yeah, I'm still pissed off about blah, 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 blah. So if they're not willing, do you want to talk about it more? If they're not willing to talk about it more, or their emotions are still heightened and they can't have a calm, understanding, respectful conversation, that's when I leave the room usually. I'm like, okay, we'll talk about this later, or okay, no worries. And I'll leave the room. And it might be, I'm going to go take the dog for a walk. I'm going to go sit outside. I'm going to go watch some TV. I'm going to go whatever, just to give that space. Now, the goal is when you do this, when you give that space, is to distract yourself. Do something for you. Do something that you're interested. Do some research. Read a book. Journal. Doodle or draw. Paint. Play an instrument. Last resort, of course. Scroll. Doom scroll. But it's really, the point is getting your mind off of it. Because what happens is, so I can know it's not mine. I need to give space. And so I may go in the other room, I'll go for a walk, but all I'm doing is thinking of 100 reasons why it's not mine. And it's not my fault, and I'm not going to take it, or this is why it's theirs, and I'm not taking it on. And all the, you just keep thinking about it, overanalyzing it, overthinking it. It's just going on and on in your head, but yet you're still taking it on because you're still stressing out about it, still getting anxious about it, you're still overthinking about it, still analyzing it. So you're still taking it on, even though you know it's not yours. So the goal is to get your mind off of it. And that actually removes that tension or decreases it a lot. And then later you can come around and you'll notice that the tension's released. There might be a little bit yet, but then you chat and you say, are we good? Or is there anything we need to talk about? And if there isn't, this is what can be hard for some of us. If they say no, it is what it is. Because if it was a disagreement where you just don't agree on something, there really isn't a lot more to say. Now, if you could get to a place where you could try to understand each other, just where you're coming from, not to come to an agreement, but to be heard and understood. If they're like, no, it's good. If you want to try to talk about it, say, okay, I'd like us to try to understand each other's view, not necessarily to come to an agreement, but just so we both feel heard and understood. And that'll ease the tension too. But if there's nothing more to say or they don't want to talk about it anymore, we have to accept that. Sometimes we want to say, are you sure? You still seem mad, blah, 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 and keep bugging and asking. And then what happens? Tension starts building again because nobody wants to be pestered like that. And so if they say no, we have to let it go. We have to accept it and move on and be us. So if they say no, okay, cool. And do whatever you would normally do. And that can be hard, but if you can start to find something that you maybe go to in this time, like art is great. Doodling, coloring, journaling is really good too. And it just takes your mind off of the spiral about this situation and then giving space. So sometimes there's tension, there's heaviness in the air, and it just needs time to settle. It just needs to settle naturally. And that really is just time. For all of these, though, I always like to ask first and put it out there because sometimes they may not even feel the tension or the heaviness. And so when you put it out there, they can become aware of it and they can look at, oh yeah, I had a little attitude there. Or yeah, I was putting off, my ego was a little enlarged, and they can recognize it and then things may change. I'll tell you a story. So the other night, or it was last week, I guess. Last week, my boyfriend and I were having a conversation, and just throughout the conversation, something came up, and I made a comment. And the comment was more serious than the whole conversation was. And it kind of got a little heated. Not bad, but a little heated. Well, then it went on, whatever. I explained myself, and he went to the grocery store, and when he came back, I felt tension. So I kind of held back. I got quiet. He was putting groceries away, so he was quiet, and I felt like that was the tension, part of the tension, that he felt it too. And I recognized it, I felt it in my body. I felt my mind starting to spiral. But then I caught myself. So I was like, this isn't where I want to be. This is what I'm working on. And so I put it out there and I just said, is there anything from that conversation you want to talk more about? And he was like, oh, no, I ain't tripping. And so in that moment, I was like, oh, okay. Because I felt tension, but he didn't at all. So sometimes I'm the only one that feels it. By putting it out there, it released. Now I could have obviously, are you sure? I still feel this, da 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 da. And that would have escalated things because nobody wants that. But I'm learning that to just accept it. Whatever is said, whatever they said, accept it. If they still have things, that's still on them. That's not us to take on. And so he said that it was pretty cool to feel it because it just released. Now, if I wouldn't have said anything, here's what would have happened. I would have continued to overthink it and pull away because I would have continued to feel this tension. So I would have pulled away. I would have kept quiet. I would have started tiptoeing. He would have felt that. And he probably would have, if he didn't say anything, he probably would have pulled away or just gave me space or kind of just did his thing. And the night would have been totally different than what it was. Because in that moment, for me, feeling that tension, it was my own discomfort. And really, what I realized later in reflection was it was my discomfort with how I handled the comment I made. I should have made that comment its own conversation in a way more finesse way. And so I had my own discomfort with how I handled that. So it wasn't anything between us. It was my own discomfort. And that's actually what we're going to talk about in the next series is how to how to sit with when we're just uncomfortable. Because that's what a lot of our struggles are. A lot of anxiety is really the discomfort we have in the situation, just an uncomfortable feeling. And there's tension, there's nervousness, there's fear, there's uncertainty. That's all discomfort. And how we handle it is the key. And so, until next time, notice the feeling, take accountability if it's there. If not, try to put it out there. Try to ask a couple of those questions and see where it goes. If you're sitting in the tension, try to find something to do to take your mind off of it. Okay? And as always, keep looking forward.